important to focus on this concept and to understand the concept. The structure or form of English is subject, verb, object. Form is the shape or configuration of something. This word form comes to us from Latin. It's a very ancient, old word with a lot of history. It comes to us through Latin, both as a verb and as a noun. So in English, it's also a verb as well as a noun. So the form of English, subject, verb, object. Let's start with a little warm-up activity. Write these phrases next to the appropriate subject. So here are the subjects of English. First person, second person, third person. Left side is singular, right side is plural. I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. So please note, we do not have this second person plural in English. We don't have any word in English for second person plural. That's interesting, right? But we don't have a plural version of you. I, the plural version, we, right? He, she, or it, the plural is they. But in English, there is no plural for second person you. So these words, let's write these words or phrases next to the appropriate subject. So if you want to answer, just raise your hand and I will call on you. Paul, what subject is Paul? Can somebody help me with, Raj, go for it.
Paul, he or she, he.
Exactly. Paul goes in third person singular, he, she, it. That is the subject, right? Paul, third person singular subject. Very good, Raj. How about the teacher? Where does it go? What subject is the teacher? Amel, thank you for raising your hand.
He, the teacher, he.
He or she, right? The teacher, right? It's one person. Very good, Amal. Bill and Alex. Bill and Alex. What subject? Where should this go? Bill and Alex. Mohammed, can you tell me?
Yes, of course. The subject, they.
They, right? Bill and Alex, two people. They. Very good. Let's keep going. A friend of Bill and Alex. A friend of Bill and Alex. What is this subject? Can somebody tell me? Amel, can you tell me?
Be.
He or she.
Yeah, exactly. A friend of Bill and Alex. That is a singular person, right? That's third person singular, he or she, a friend of Bill and Alex. So look, that is 6 words. 6 words, but these 6 words go together to make one subject, right? So these words go together and they make a subject. That is important to understand. Pat and I. Let's go with how anybody new want to, Ranjan, can you answer this one? What subject? Pat and I.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Ranjan.
A friend of Bill and Alex.
How about Pat and I? What is the subject here? Pat and I. Where should...
I.
Ooh, nice try, but let's try again. Pat and I, these three words together. What subject is this? How about Amel?
I can try.
Go for it, Paula.
Pat and I, it's we.
Yeah, look, right? This is Pat and I, two people, including me. That is plural, so we. So look, we have three words. One of the words is I, but it's really important to understand that these three words make a phrase, and this phrase is a subject. That's really good. David, do you want to try, David? The next one, the dog.
Of course. Eat.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. Okay, here's a difficult one. Who can help me? The guy I met at the party, at the party on Saturday. The guy who I met at the party on Saturday. What subject is that, Raj?
He she.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Raj. Look, all of these words are going together, but it still makes one subject. The guy who I met at the party on Saturday, that is a subject, right? Just try to understand that. That's really important. The police. Okay, I'm going to tell you, this is a little bit of a trick. I'm trying to trick you. The police. Where should this subject go? Let's go back to Mohammed.
I think they. The police is plural.
Okay, very good, Mohammed. In English, the police, plural. Why? Because the police consist of many individual members. However, it's a little bit of a special case. Let's try the next one. The government. Where should I put? Let's try Malik. Malik raised his hand. Malik, where should I write the government? Malik.
I think it.
Very good. Excellent, Malik. So you might be saying why? Why is the government third person singular, but the police is third person plural? Well, it doesn't really matter why. It just matters that you remember it. So in English, we say the government is, for example, and we say the police are. I could explain it. I think because we imagine the government as like one thing, but the police as many, many different officers. But that's how we say it in American English. Good. The letter. Let's go. How about Araceli?
The leather.
Yeah.
The leather. It.
Yeah, very good, Araceli. Very, very good. The letter. It. So a subject can be a thing. A subject does not have to be a person. Okay, me. Any ideas? Me. Where should Raj?
I.
Yeah, exactly, right? That one is hard. Okay, now this one, y'all. Y'all, this is how people in the South of the United States talk. It's not common in the North or New York City or California, but it's very common in the South to say y'all. David, where do you think I should put y'all?
You. It's a contraction. Yo.
It is a contraction. You're close. This is the closest way we have to do second person plural in English. So you can say y'all or you guys. Y'all is not considered proper or formal English. This is considered slang, but these phrases are the two closest things we have to second person plural in English. So very, very good. So these are the subjects of English. This is who is doing the action, right? This is who is doing the verb. So that is a subject. That's the first part. What's the form of your language? What do you know the form of your language? So English is a SVO, and that means subject plus verb plus object.
Object.
What's the form? Do you know the form of your language? Let's start with Paula. Can you try to explain the form of Spanish, or do you know? Of course, there are many variations. There are many different kind of sentences, but how would you describe Spanish?
In Spanish, we have the subject also, and next to the verb,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's almost the same as English, but it's
Yeah.
more confused because we have many words to say the. Do you know the object? We
Mm-hmm.
have many of these. Depends if it's plural or if it's just one, and it's a little bit different, but we have almost the same rules.
But like for the most part, it's just like subject, verb, object. Like the man eats chicken, and it's like the similar form, more or less.
Yes, it's almost the same because we have an order to follow. It's almost the same, yes. And next we have many difference to say the future and the present continuous, and it's just adding more words. But it's difficult to learn Spanish, I think so.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So yeah, most languages are subject, verb, object. For example, the man eats chicken. One language that I know that is subject, object, verb is Korean. I lived in South Korea for over a year, and they do subject, object, verb. So they would say, it like this: the man chicken eats. That's their language, but we can't talk like that in English, right? We need to have a subject, a verb, and an object. I don't know any languages that start with a verb. Does anybody know a language that goes verb, subject, object? How about Mohammed? What would you like to say?
The Arabic language, the form of Arabic language is a verb, subject, object.
Really?
Yes, the most common.
Really?
Whoa.
Yes, the phrases start with the verb.
What is your language? Excuse me?
The Arabic language.
Arabic.
Yes.
Oh, mira.
Even we use the first form, subject, verb, object.
Yeah.
But the
You speak French as
most
well,
common.
right, Mohammed? Yeah?
Not at all.
No, you don't?
Not at all.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yes. But Amel, do you speak French as well as Arabic, Amel?
Wow.
Amel?
Yes, sometimes, but I'm not perfect in French.
You're not fluent in French. Raj, really quickly, I want to move on, but
Connection
Raj,
is-
quickly, first of all, what's your first language, Raj?
My first language is Hindi.
Hindi. Okay, so what's the
Yes.
basic form of Hindi? If like how is it what is it?
It's the same as English.
Really?
Yes.
Subject, verb, object.
Yes.
Okay.
Like मैं जाता हूँ. Like मैं जाता हूँ. I go.
Oh, okay. So, interesting. So, okay, nice. Good to know that.
Now,
Okay. Well, I always like to compare languages because that's important. Let's now keep moving on. Okay, let's identify the subject and object in each sentence. So, I'm gonna underline the subject. But tell me, what's the subject in this first sentence? The dog chased the cat. What is the subject here?
the dog.
Yeah, the dog. Okay, that's an easy one. So we're going to underline that, and I'll italicize. What is the object here?
Chase it.
The cat.
Cat.
The cat, right? The cat is the object. It's
Object.
important that you understand the cat because these words go together to make the object, right? A cat, the cat is different. I don't want to talk about that. That was a different lesson. So here, look, we have the subject, we have the verb, and of course, the verb is done to the object by the subject. That's very important to understand. Okay, letter B, the police officers arrested a few people. What's the subject here?
The police officer.
Yeah,
Officers.
Yeah, very good, right? The police officers. So these three words here are the subject, right? And it's really important that you're not just memorizing words and memorizing sentences. You're trying to understand the three main parts of the sentence. What is the object of this sentence?
A few people.
People.
Yeah, very good. Exactly. A few people. So we're talking about multiple people. And then we have our verb, past tense verb in the middle, right? So again, just a very basic sentence. C. Okay. C. Students at the middle school laughed hysterically at the bus driver when he ripped his pants. What's the subject here?
Students at the middle school.
Yeah, students at the middle school here.
School.
This is the subject. They, right? Students at the middle school. They. And then what is the object here?
The bus driver when he ripped his pants.
Yeah.
This driver.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
bus driver.
Yeah, the bus
His
driver.
pant.
so look, exactly, right? Here's the subject, students at the middle school. This is the verb, laughed. This word just modifies the verb hysterically. The bus driver, and then we just have another dependent clause at the end of the sentence, when he ripped his pants. So really good. Okay. Letter D, Bob was punched by Jim. What's the subject here?
Bob.
Jim.
Bob.
Jim.
Bob.
Jim.
Bob.
Jim.
Bob.
Jim.
Jim.
Yeah, so
Jim,
I
sorry,
tried
Jim.
to trick you here. I
Oh.
tried
Yes.
to make
It's-
you make a mistake on this
It's a
sentence.
passive boy. Passive boy.
Passive voice. Right, exactly. Passive voice, right? So think about it. Who did the punch? Who did the punch in this sentence?
Jim.
Jim.
Jim did the punch, right? Jim did the verb. Who did he do it to? Who is the object?
Bob.
Bob, yeah, right? So don't forget, we have variations in English. One of those variations we have is called the passive voice. And that's simply when you That is simply when you change the order of the object and the subject. So we can do this in English, right? Bob was punched by Jim. Don't forget, we just use this auxiliary verb like this, right? So very good. Okay, and letter E, the problems our country faces will be solved. What's the subject?
Subject is hidden.
Very good. Yes, very good. There is no subject here, right? There is no subject in this sentence. What is the object?
The problem, the problems are the problems are country.
Exactly, right? Yeah, our country faces, basically, right? So this is
The problems
actually
of our country. Of is missing from this sentence. The
no,
problems of our country.
no. The
No.
problems our country faces will be
Okay.
solved. This is functioning as a subject in the sentence. It is another passive voice sentence. So I tried to trick you there. It's passive voice. There is no subject in this sentence. This is, how politicians speak. This is how politicians speak. There is no subject because they do not want responsibility, right? They do not want, when someone uses passive voice, they don't want responsibility. So there is no subject. So they're just using the object here. Okay, and now let's fix each sentence. Let's fix each sentence here. So there is a mistake in each sentence. And just tell me how I should fix this sentence. Sentence number 1, I cooked the corn yellow. You can raise your hand if you know, or okay, Mohammed, go for it.
It's correct.
There is a mistake, Mohammed. What do you think it is?
Could be I cook a corn yellow.
What, not quite. Let's Amel, did you want to?
Oh,
Yeah,
the
I
yellow
cooked
corn.
the yellow corn.
Yes.
The
Look.
yellow corn.
Yes, look. In English, we can't say the corn yellow. You have to put the adjective before the noun, right? I cooked the yellow corn. I cooked the yellow corn. So again, that's important. Okay, Valeria, her friend talked to David. David, can you try to help me, David? Valeria, her friend talked to.
Her friend Valeria. No. Oh.
Let's think subject, verb, object.
Valeria is the subject.
Good. Okay.
Valeria.
Yes. Now, what is the verb here, David?
Talk
Okay.
to her friend.
Yeah,
Yes.
very good, David. So you just keep thinking about the form, the structure. There's 3 big parts, and you need to put the phrases in the right order so the 3 parts go together. That's like a conceptual understanding thing. Okay, number 3, the mail picked up by the mail carrier. Let's remember our lesson from the passive voice that we just talked about. Number 3, there is a mistake that needs to be fixed here. The mail picked up by the mail carrier. Amel, go for it, Amel. Yes, Amel, you can answer whenever you're ready.
I think is the mail picked up by the mail carrier. maybe.
Paul, well, that we were close. You're very close, but we're missing something. Go for it, Paola.
The mail was picked up by the mail carrier.
Yes, was picked up by the mail carrier. Remember the passive voice. This is just a variation of the sentence structure of English, right? This is passive voice. The mail is the object of the sentence. The mail carrier is the subject. So with passive voice, we have the auxiliary, and then we have the past participle, was picked up. Phrasal verb, same as other verbs. And excellent job, Paula. Number 4, the government have made a decision. Who can help me with this one? Go for it, Mohammed.
Has made a decision.
Yeah, good. So excellent. The government has made this. As we watch the video, I'm going to share my computer sound with you. Just look what she does and how the meaning of the sentence is changed. So what verb to use when the subject is none? None means 0, right? So how can 0 be singular? How can 0 be plural, more than 1? None is 0, right? Let's just watch. It's 2 minutes and it's a pretty interesting video. This is a little more advanced for some of our more advanced students here.
When you're writing a sentence, you want the verb to agree with the subject, but sometimes it can be tricky when you have a word like none as part of the subject. So I'm going to tell you how you can make sure that there's agreement in your sentence when you see the word none. There are different kinds of pronouns. Some are singular, some are plural, and some swing both ways. They're like living in San Francisco in the 1960s and 70s. None is one of those words that swings both ways, which means that sometimes it can be singular and sometimes it can be plural, depending on the sentence. So when you have a sentence with the word none in it, like this one, I'm going to show you how you can decide whether you need the singular or the plural verb. In this case, the verb in our sentence is has. And the subject in our sentence is none of my stamp collection. Now we're trying to figure out if the subject is singular or plural. Well, in this case, when you see the word none and you know it swings both ways, you look at what comes next. In this case, it's stamp collection. If stamp collection is singular, which it is, you have a singular subject. None is functioning in a singular way. So in this case, we need the singular verb has. None of my stamp collection has lost its value. It would be incorrect to say none of my stamp collection have lost their value. Let me give you another example. So let's change this sentence to be a little bit different. Let's say none of my stamps have lost their value. All right, so in this case, our subject is plural. We see the word none, we know it swings both ways, so we look at what comes next. And in this case, what comes next is the word stamps, which is plural. So now, none of my stamps is plural. None is functioning in a plural way, and we need the plural verb to make sure that there's agreement. So that's why in this sentence we reach for the verb have, which is plural. None of my stamps have lost their value. In other words, it wouldn't be correct to say none of my stamps has lost their value. So I hope that this makes it a little bit clearer about how to make sure that there's agreement in your sentence when you come across that tricky word, none.
So that's a difficult word to understand in English, but it's something that we say often. So like this, right? None of my friends are here. None of my friends are here. That means 0. 0 of all of my friends are here. Can somebody please explain to me why I chose this verb? This is the correct verb, are. Why would I use this verb, are? Why do I not say is? Can somebody please explain this to me and to the class?
Yes, friends are plural. It's not a singular.
Exactly, right? Right. Exactly. You said it perfectly. Friends is plural. And even though we're using this word none, we're still talking about a plural group, right? Good. How about this? How about a little different? A little different. Nobody from my class is here. So why am I using this verb here? Why do
No,
I use this singular verb?
nobody is a singular.
Well, nobody means zero, right? So zero is
Yes,
not singular, one. Why do I choose this verb?
nobody.
Any
Yeah, I think it's just
Class,
about
class.
memorize that nobody it's just a singular or it is has an explaining or a meaning. I don't know.
well, here's the answer.
Class,
We're
class.
Class.
because
Class is
we're
a
exactly my class. Think a class is one thing, right? The class, my class. It is good, right? Class is like the subject, it, right? My class. It's one thing, my class. My
But if you say just nobody is here, that's correct.
no, nobody is here is also correct. Yes, that is also correct. Yes. But look at this one. Look at this is different. And Raj just explained to us. None of my friends are here. Because even though we're talking about zero, we're still talking about this group, my friends, right? Many individual people, my friends, they. So just something to keep in mind when we are thinking about the form, how to make a sentence. Because the main problem I see from advanced students, they're trying to write very complicated sentences, but sometimes their sentences are complicated and so hard to understand because they lose the relationship, subject, verb, object. So it's really important, to keep trying to understand this. And just one last thing I'm going to show you today. Whoopsie daisy. Last thing I'd like to show you today before we end our class is just one more thing to help you kind of understand why form and why structure is so important. So let's look at these two sentences. These two sentences have exactly the same words. The words are exactly the same, but they're just in a different order. They're just in a different structure. So the meaning is completely different. So this is for advanced students. If you're basic, it's going to be hard to understand this, but if you're more advanced, please try to follow along. People are probably not as aware of sentence structure as they are of sounds and words, because sentence structure is abstract in a way that sounds and words are not. At the same time, sentence structure is a central aspect of every sentence. We can appreciate the importance of sentence structure by looking at examples within a single language. For instance, in English, the same set of words can convey different meanings, have different meanings, if they are arranged in different ways. So consider the following. The senators objected to the plans proposed by the generals. The senators proposed the plans objected to by the generals. The meaning of the first sentence is quite different from that of the second sentence, even though the only difference is the position of the words objected to and proposed. So look, the only difference is objected to and proposed. That's the only change in the sentence. Although both sentences contain exactly the same words, the words are structurally related to each other differently. It is those differences in structure that account for the difference in meaning. So that's something that you need to try to understand, right? That's a lot more complicated than this. This is basic, right? This is easy, right? Write the subject and then, identify the subject and the object, fix the sentences. These are kind of like traditional, not traditional, but it's easier. This is really about thinking and about understanding. So if you're intermediate or upper intermediate or advanced, then you need to try to start thinking about structure and form a lot at a deeper level so that you can understand what is happening in the language, right? Because so many students, they just try to memorize words, memorize sentences, and they're just trying to memorize it, but they're not trying to understand it. So that's the advanced part of the lesson. So last thing before we end class, one of the first lessons learned by the student of language is that there is more to a language than a simple vocabulary list. It's not just vocabulary you memorize. It's not just fill in the blank grammar exercises. To learn a language, we must also learn its principles of sentence structure. And a linguist who is studying a language will generally be more interested in the structural principles than in the vocabulary. Right? So now if you're trying to be advanced, you have to try to think about the structure and the form of the sentence. Sentence structure may ultimately be composed of many parts, but remember that the foundation of each sentence is the subject and the predicate. The subject is a word or a group of words that function as a noun. The predicate is at least a verb and possibly includes objects and modifiers of that verb. So that's something just for the advanced students to help them understand a little bit better. But I hope that it was at least a good review of the basic structure of English. So, when you're thinking about grammar, try to think of it more like sentence structure and organization of phrases more than just, memorizing things or filling in the blank. But yeah, it's a really important concept. Does anybody have any questions? This is basically the end of class. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Please just raise your hand if you have any questions about the lesson. Okay, Raj. Question about the lesson today, Raj?
My question is from last week. I did not join last class, so I want to know what did you do in the last class?
Sure. At the end, Raj, I will email you, or I'll post the link in the chat for last week's class. But I always have the classes on YouTube, so I'll send you. Well, it's in the virtual classroom, but I'll send you what I did on Tuesday. I'll send you the video after class.
Okay. I'll see that.
For sure. Thanks, Raj. Any other
thanks.
questions about the lesson that we did today?
No, it was simple, so there is no question.
Good. Yeah, good. Okay. One thing to remember in English is it's better to have a simple sentence that is correct than a complicated sentence that is incorrect. So like for TOEFL students who are advanced, who want to go to college or who want to take the TOEFL test, I see this problem that they're trying to write really complicated sentences, but they're incorrect. There's mistakes. So if you just keep it simple, I would rather read simple sentences that are correct. Honestly, I would. If you ever are getting confused, keep it simple. So what's the subject? What is the verb? What is the object, right? And just make these simple sentences that are correct. It's more clear. It's more direct when I'm reading it or when somebody is listening. So when I correct people's writing, like college students, TOEFL students going to college, they'll give me an essay and I will look at their writing. And when I edit and make corrections on their writing, all I do a lot of times is just cross out words. I'll just take words away to fix their sentences. I'm just erasing words because they have so many extra words that I can't understand it because they're losing the relationship between subject, verb, and object. So that's something for advanced students and basic students. You must always understand this relationship, this structure in English. Yes, David, I will always email out the links. I email a couple minutes before 10 o'clock. If I have your email, I'll always email you. So that's the end of class. I'm going to unmute everybody. So you're all unmuted now. To the new students, Araceli and David, thank you. I know your name is not Alberto. I know you're not Alberto, the new student. You were here yesterday. Are you Fran Oliveira? I think, are you the one who, I think I met you. Anyways, class is finished, so we can just talk now, or anything you want to say, you can say now. We have another student who just joined. Thanks everybody for coming. If you want to go, you can go. If you want to stay and hang out for a few moments, you can. Luis, can you hear me, Luis?
É isso, Luiz. Ele não responde, fica rindo.
Hello, Luis.
Yes, teacher, I'm hearing you.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you. And you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming to class. You are a new student. We just finished our class, but now we're just talking. Do you want to introduce yourself to the class? Tell us who you are and where you're from and one hobby you enjoy doing.
Oh, yes. First of all, thank you for allowing and for sharing your link for us to be able to join your classes. It's a pity that the class is already finished. I am a Brazilian boy. I am
Nice.
24 years old.
Good.
I live in Brazil, as I said, and I'm happy to be with you here.
Great, Luis. I am very happy that you joined class. It's okay that you just joined class at the end because I do class at the same time every Tuesday and Saturday.
Yo, how nice to know that.
Yeah, so I'll just check your email, 10 o'clock California time, and you'll have the link every Tuesday and Saturday. Just click the link in your email and you will join class.
Oh, very nice to know.
Yeah, and I also have a free video the day before.
Oh, nice. Nice to know that.
And then I